Imagine this. You're at a beautiful Japanese restaurant, the sushi platter arrives, and that glossy salmon nigiri is calling your name. The smell of freshly cooked sushi rice mixed with the tang of rice vinegar drifts upward, and your mouth starts to water. You take just one bite. It feels small and harmless, just a piece of art on your plate. But inside your body, that bite kicks off a complex series of reactions that most people never think about. Before we continue, I'd like to tell you about Diacelan, a powerful blend of 13 natural ingredients, each carefully selected for their proven ability to support healthy blood sugar levels, enhance insulin sensitivity, and promote overall wellness. You can read more on diacelan.com. If you're living with diabetes or even just prediabetes, these reactions can happen faster, last longer, and be more unpredictable than in someone without blood sugar issues. In today's video, we're going to take you deep into your body, past the taste buds, through the digestive tract, right down to your cells, to see what's really going on. We'll uncover why that single bite isn't as simple as it seems, and how it can influence your blood sugar, your insulin response, and your energy levels for hours after the meal is over. This isn't meant to scare you away from sushi forever. It's about giving you the knowledge to enjoy it wisely and understand what's really happening after that moment of indulgence. From the second sushi touches your tongue, the process of digestion begins, not in your stomach, but in your brain. Your taste buds pick up the sweet notes from the sushi rice, the savory umami from the fish, and the salty depth from the soy sauce. Those signals rush to your brain, which immediately triggers the cephalic phase of digestion. This is essentially your body's heads-up system, telling your digestive organs to get ready for incoming food. Saliva production increases, your stomach starts releasing gastric juices, and your pancreas begins preparing to release insulin even before any carbohydrates actually enter your bloodstream. In someone without diabetes, this preemptive insulin helps smooth out blood sugar changes. But if you have diabetes, this early stage can already be less efficient. Your body might release too little insulin, too much, or release it at the wrong time. This early mismatch can mean that by the time glucose from the rice does enter your bloodstream, your body's already behind in handling it. Even before you swallow, your body is already playing catch-up. Most people don't realize that sushi rice is very different from the rice they might eat at home. It's almost always made from short-grain white rice, which is naturally higher in starch and lower in fiber compared to whole grains. On top of that, sushi rice is seasoned with rice vinegar and sugar to give it that signature, sticky texture and slightly sweet taste. This means that even one small piece of sushi contains more simple carbohydrates than it appears, often between 5 and 7 grams in a single nigiri and 20 to 30 grams in a single sushi roll. Because white rice is already high on the glycemic index, meaning it quickly converts to glucose, your body will start breaking it down almost immediately. Without fiber or complex structure to slow digestion, those carbs move rapidly from your mouth to your stomach and then into your small intestine, where they're quickly absorbed into the bloodstream. If you're managing diabetes, this means the clock is ticking. Your body will soon face a sharp rise in blood glucose unless insulin arrives right on time to handle it. Within just 10 to 15 minutes after swallowing that bite, the first wave of glucose begins entering your bloodstream. In a healthy person, insulin would quickly be released from the pancreas to escort this glucose into cells where it can be used for energy or stored for later. But with type 2 diabetes, cells may resist insulin signal, meaning the glucose lingers in the blood longer than it should. With type 1 diabetes, the pancreas produces no insulin at all, so without pre-measured insulin from an injection or pump, glucose will simply keep building. This is why a small portion of white rice can cause such a rapid and noticeable spike. It's essentially a flood of easily digestible glucose hitting your bloodstream with little to slow it down. Depending on your insulin sensitivity, you may feel this spike physically as a rush of energy, mild flushing, or even a sudden increase in thirst. While that may sound harmless, repeated rapid spikes contribute to long-term health risks like nerve damage, blood vessel problems, and worsening insulin resistance. The fish in sushi, whether it's raw salmon, tuna, yellowtail, or eel, does offer some protection against that rapid glucose surge, but not as much as you might think. Fish is rich in high-quality protein, and in the case of oily fish like salmon, beneficial omega-3 fatty acids. These nutrients slow digestion slightly, helping to release glucose into your bloodstream more gradually. But the amount of rice in most sushi far outweighs the moderating effects of the fish. This means while the protein and fat help a little, they often can't fully counter the speed at which sushi rice is absorbed. And the extras that come with sushi, soy sauce, wasabi, pickled ginger, each bring their own considerations. Soy sauce, for example, is high in sodium, which can increase blood pressure and stress the cardiovascular system, an important factor for diabetics already at higher heart disease risk. Pickled ginger often contains added sugar, and even wasabi paste may have fillers like starch that add hidden carbs. It's a reminder that in sushi, not all the carb impact is coming from the rice alone. Sushi's carbs often hit your bloodstream in waves. The first wave comes quickly from the fast-digesting rice. But if you're eating multiple pieces over time, your body faces a second and sometimes third glucose push as more starch breaks down during the meal. Because sushi is typically eaten in a relaxed, slow-paced setting, those staggered bites can keep feeding glucose into your bloodstream for an extended period. For a diabetic, this means your blood sugar may never have a chance to settle before the next wave hits. This is why some people see their continuous glucose monitors show a prolonged hill instead of a sharp spike. It's not just one big surge, but a steady climb that can last hours. And since sushi is often paired with other high-carb sides like tempura or noodle soup, the total impact can be much greater than you realize. If you're managing diabetes with insulin, sushi can be particularly tricky because of how unpredictable the glucose pattern can be. Some people take insulin before eating to cover the first spike from the rice, but then end up going low an hour later because the protein and fat slowed digestion more than expected. Others take a smaller dose, only to find their blood sugar creeping higher for hours afterward because they underestimated the total carb load. This balancing act often leads to stacking insulin doses, taking extra corrections to chase down high blood sugar, which can then cause dangerous drops later in the day or night. It's one of the reasons many people with diabetes approach sushi with caution. It's not that it's off limits, but it's far less predictable than other carb-containing foods. Sushi is a good example of a food with both a high glycemic index and a high glycemic load. The glycemic index measures how quickly a food raises blood sugar, and sushi rice ranks near the top because it breaks down fast. The glycemic load takes into account not just the speed, but the total amount of carbs in a serving. Sushi often scores high on both, meaning it doesn't just raise blood sugar quickly, it raises it significantly. This combination is what makes it such a challenge for people with diabetes. Even though the fish offers excellent nutrition, the carb density from the rice tips the balance toward a high-impact food that needs planning and moderation. If you skip the rice entirely and choose your sashimi, just the fish without any grains, you sidestep most of these problems. Sashimi is almost pure protein and fat with negligible carbs, so it has little to no effect on blood sugar. This is why many people with diabetes prefer sashimi when they want to enjoy Japanese cuisine without the carb spike. Adding vegetables like cucumber, avocado, or seaweed salad can further help balance the meal, providing fiber and micronutrients without the glucose surge. And if you miss the texture of rice, some restaurants now offer sushi made with cauliflower rice, which mimics the look and feel of traditional sushi, but is far lower in carbs. About an hour after eating, blood sugar levels are often at their peak. For someone without diabetes, this peak is usually short-lived as insulin works efficiently to bring levels back to normal. But for someone with diabetes, blood sugar may still be climbing at this point or only beginning to level off. This is why many experts recommend checking blood sugar 1 to 2 hours after eating sushi. It provides a clearer picture of how your body's handling the carbs. In some cases, this post-meal reading can reveal spikes that you might not feel physically, but that still contribute to long-term complications. 2 to 4 hours later, the effects of that sushi bite may still be unfolding. Some people feel a sugar crash if their blood sugar drops too quickly. This can cause fatigue, irritability, or hunger. Others may still have elevated glucose if digestion was slowed by the protein and fat in the fish, leading to what's called late postprandial hyperglycemia. In either case, prolonged high blood sugar after meals increases oxidative stress, inflammation, and damage to blood vessels and nerves. This is why even occasional high-carb meals like sushi need to be balanced with strategies to minimize the spike. If sushi becomes a frequent part of your diet and you don't make adjustments, the repeated blood sugar spikes can raise your A1C over time, signaling consistently high average glucose levels. This increases the risk of diabetic complications such as neuropathy, retinopathy, kidney disease, and cardiovascular problems. It can also worsen insulin resistance, making blood sugar harder to control in the future. That doesn't mean you have to avoid sushi forever. It just means awareness and planning are key. The good news is there are plenty of ways to enjoy sushi while keeping blood sugar in check. Choosing sashimi or sushi wrapped in cucumber instead of rice is the simplest option. If you do eat rice-based sushi, opt for smaller portions and pair them with high-fiber or high-protein sides. Brown rice sushi, while still containing carbs, has more fiber and a lower glycemic index than white rice, making it a slightly better choice. Eating a protein-rich snack beforehand can also help slow digestion, and a short walk after your meal can help your muscles absorb glucose more effectively without requiring as much insulin. Ultimately, that single bite of sushi is far more than just a flavor experience. It's a chain reaction of taste perception, digestive signaling, nutrient absorption, hormonal release, and blood sugar changes. For people with diabetes, understanding these processes is empowering. It allows you to enjoy your favorite foods in a way that minimizes harm, keeps your glucose steady, and avoids the energy crashes or long-term risks associated with repeated spikes. You don't have to give up sushi. You just have to approach it with the right strategy, awareness, and balance so it fits into your lifestyle without throwing your blood sugar off course. So the next time that sushi platter arrives and that perfect piece of salmon nigiri catches your eye, you'll know exactly what's happening inside your body from that very first bite. You'll remember that it's not just about flavor or presentation. It's about how your brain, stomach, pancreas, liver, and cells all react in a precise sequence, often within seconds. You'll be more aware of how even a small piece sets off a series of chemical and hormonal events that either keep your blood sugar balanced or push it into a range that makes management harder. And perhaps most importantly, you'll realize that this awareness isn't about restriction, it's about power. Knowing what's happening means you can take control, make swaps, adjust your portions, and enjoy the food you love without fear. You can decide when to go for sashimi, when to walk after a meal, or when to plan a sushi night around more balanced choices. Over time, these small, informed decisions add up, not just to better blood sugar numbers, but to a life where you can participate fully in social meals without feeling left out or worried about the consequences. Sushi can be a joy, a tradition, and a culinary art form, but for someone living with diabetes, it's also a science experiment with predictable variables, once you know how to read them. And when you learn to approach that single bite with both appreciation and strategy, you don't just protect your health, you keep the door open to experiences, flavors, and moments that make life richer. If you found this insight valuable, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because the more we understand how our bodies respond to food, the more freedom we truly have to enjoy it.